Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the last day and the final session of the 17th Vermont Organics Recycling Summit, organized by the Composting Association of Vermont in partnership with the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. I'm Natasha Duarte, the director of the Composting Association of Vermont. The summit this year is being held as a kickoff event for International Compost Awareness Week, which starts this Sunday, the 7th. And is the largest and most comprehensive education initiative of the compost industry. The theme for this year that we've also adopted is for healthier soil, healthier food, compost. And I just want to give a shout out to this poster here on the right. It's by a student at the University of Vermont in Dr. Debner's Composting Ecology and Management class. One of their projects for their class is to create their own International Compost Awareness Week posters. We have the full collection up on the Composting Association of Vermont's website at compostingvermont.org/VORS. And then if you click on the website, when you click on the images, you can read the stories that the students shared about their inspiration for their artistic creations. So we invite you folks at any time to go and check that out. It's a pretty fun gallery to kind of walk through. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors who allow us to put this week-long program on for you all free of charge. We certainly wouldn't be able to do it without their support. And we found that getting away from registration fees has really increased our access and reach for the content that we discuss. And so we've been really happy with being able to do that. Our sponsors this year include Community Bank, Nature Cycle, Eco Products, Vegware, Addison County Solid Waste Management District, AgriLab Technologies, Vermont Natural Ag Products, the Vermont Produce Program of the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, and RMI Building Healthy Soils. So huge thanks to them. And I'm going to invite Chuck Dupre of Nature Cycle, who is one of our sponsors and the sponsor for this session, to say a few words.
Thank you, Natasha, and thanks for including us today. We're very proud to be sponsoring this session on cooperative models and partnerships for organics management. It's what Nature Cycle's worked on for many years and one of my founding principles behind it. Check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those interesting places. Nature Cycle focused on compost marketing, consulting related to compost end uses, and some engineered soil work throughout the Northeast. We're big supporters of the U.S. Composting Council and their seal of testing assurance program. Another interesting thing you might want to take a look at later, you can check out compostingcouncil.org. And we're glad to be participating today. One of my personal main focuses has always been on green roof and lightweight soils. And Nature Cycle recently completed the Javits Convention Center rooftop farm with a specially designed compost-based blend that we made for that project. And we're very interested to hear today more on these cooperative systems of managing organics and growing food and how that comes together throughout the Northeast, especially in Vermont. So thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Chuck, for your perennial support. Many of our sponsors do come back year after year, and knowing we can count on folks like you really helps us in the planning process. So
you're welcome, Natasha. Have a good day.
Great. Thank you so much. So now we're going to get into the session, and I'll just give an overview of our speakers today and then stop sharing my screen. Josefina Luna from CERO is going to start us off, I believe. CERO is a worker-owned commercial composting cooperative in Dorchester, Massachusetts, whose mission is to keep food waste out of landfills, save money for their clients, and provide good green jobs for Boston's hardworking communities. Josefina will be followed by Ulum Pixan from Global Village, an international education, training, and movement building initiative in Grafton, Massachusetts that aims to connect people from diverse backgrounds through food and farming to build community with food justice firmly at the center of their practices. And rounding out our panel is Rubén Parrilla from NOFA, Mass, working to promote organic agriculture to expand the production and availability of nutritious food from living soil for the health of individuals, communities, and the planet. NOFA Mass partners with Global Village, providing technical assistance to support their vision. So thank you to our panelists and thank you to all of our participants for joining us. And so I'm just seeing that Josefina would like to share a video. All right, can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Great. All right, here we go. Let me know if the volume is all right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit more about what we saw in the video?
Well, that's what we CERO co-op doing. We started to build the co-op in 2011 when we have this deep crisis, financial housing crisis in the United States. If two organizations from Boston area came together, and we meeting all the time, talking about the situation, and we learning the new regulation in the Boston City about food waste and composting. And we was organizing at that time in Moscow, the immigrant working association here in Dorchester. The organizer they were pretty good, very compromised. We are low-income people. So we decided that we want to take advantage of the new regulation and build something that we can working with the environment, responsible environment work, and in the meantime create a job for the low-income people in immigrant work here in Dorchester. And we started from over there. And the beginning was very hard. Now it's still harder, but because we don't have a capital and we don't have the people engaged in the project, working class people who doesn't have nothing. So we had to working very hard to make the people believe in our idea and our dream. And that was a huge challenge. And getting the first customer was a huge challenge too, because nobody know us. We don't have a truck. We don't have a social media. We don't have nothing at all. But still, we have here a co-op supermarket that the 5 supermarket supported us in starting with us. So from over there, we keep moving and working a lot. And today we provide service to Boston University, BU University. We work with MIT, and we have a lot of customer in the community around like Needham, Wesley. Most of the customers that we have at college and people with environment responsible ideology. That's the people who came to support CERO. And they, at the meantime, they supported CERO because this is a co-op business built for women, minority women. And this is something that some people feel they have the responsibility to support. It's a huge challenge here in Boston for us to running the co-op. Because in the United States, a lot of people love the word co-op. But be a co-op person, running with co-op principle and co-op value is total against the capital mentality. It's total against the non-profit mentality. And this is a huge challenge because you have to navigate it and you have to survive it. So it's the job that we've been doing for 2014, when we started operation with the first 5 accounts, is try to build the business, move forward, be available to pay decent salary to the people who came to working with us, be available to create a decent a workplace where the people is being treated with dignity, respect, when the people feel part of the team, when the people feel they are part of something, not only came to get a paycheck or do move something and go. That's not the culture in the co-op. And this is another big challenge because the people came for traditional business when they only obey. And when they came to a place where they are different and the culture is different, this is another huge challenge and taking a lot of work. I believe my learning for all this time is that the struggle is huge. It's a co-op is a revolutionary state. It's a revolutionary action. And if the people doesn't have some political education and social education, it's more difficult, because if the people feel fine and happy, be in the oppression society, be exploring, they're not going to do nothing to change that. So you have to going around and pick it out the people who can align with this ideology and the co-op principle. And we have the challenge. We have a challenge with the people who've been working with us. We have a challenge with the people outside. Nobody outside care that we are co-op and we're looking for something else. The people only want to get a paycheck and move on. So we changed up. We're doing pretty well. We are collecting a huge amount of wasting food here. The big challenge, another big challenge that we have now here in Boston is that this is a new industry. A lot of things are not regulated. The tipping fee is so high for us here. We pay in some places $55 by ton. And this is too much, because this is a very, very expensive business, because we are high-rich business. So yesterday, somebody asking me, I see that you pay on the year $68,000 insurance. Yes, we have to. Because when you go into some customer like Facebook that we working with these people have their own requests. They want to have an umbrella policy that they cover everything, because we going over there. They don't want to put it themselves in any rich. And that's happened with many business that we have it. So we have, if we want to work with them and we need to work with them, we have to try to negotiate it. Sometimes these people asking us for policy for $5 million. And we can say, we're not going to get a $5 million umbrella to provide a service to you when your agreement is only going to give us maybe $30,000 a year or $40,000. We're not going to invest $5 million, pay for $5 million. And you have to navigate it and negotiate it. That. Another thing that we had to do, this is a relationship business. You go into any business and the people who made the decision going to tell you, oh yeah, we agree with this, we agree this, and this is going to be the location. We're going to have a pick out 3 times a week, and this we agree. But what happened? The people inside to the kitchen, the people inside to the store, the simple people over there, is the people who do the job. And you have to build a relation with these people. You have to go in these people and let these people know that you appreciate it, that they do good job, that you can teach them. So this is the people who made the food waste go into our barrel. And this is another thing that is difficult, because some people understand that these people are not important. The job they do it is so important, and you have to have these people with you. So this job demand too much. This is a very high intensive job that demand a lot of work with the customer every day. It's the contamination issue. You have a play, one employee a new person is over there, right away, this person doesn't know what to do. And a lot of people doesn't see the difference between food waste and composting and recycle. If one barrel is leaking because they wrote at the barrel and the barrel leaking right away, you have a complaint and you have to jump in over there. The barrel in the kitchen, inside the cafeteria, they have to keep it clean. You have to jump in over there. It's a very, very demand work to do it. But it can be done if the people understand that part and the people compromise themselves that, yes, it's a hard job, but in the meantime, you're going to feel the happiness that you're doing something different. You're going to do something that you feel made a difference. And when somebody came in our place and looking for job, and we can offer a decent job, a decent salary. This is say you make a difference in this society. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for make the difference. We have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of people who support us, but we have a lot of people who are not in our side. For personally, it's a struggle every day. I'm a woman. I'm a Latin American woman, minority woman, in charge of the operation of hauling business. It's a business for men, especially for white men. This is something that everybody look at that, and I got the respect for a lot of people, but I be harassment and humiliated for another side, but let's keep going. So when I'm talking about this, I enjoy and I like that the people ask a question, because I explaining some stuff, still a lot of stuff I'm not going through, so but can be in the somebody mind. So I will love to see the people can ask any question about it. And the last piece that I had to mention about this is the co-op education. This is a priority in any co-op, because when we build the co-op, the organizer, the people outside, everybody came in talking about the money. It's the money. And you know, if the money can be fixing the problem of the world, we will not have a problem, because money, it's the human value and the human capital can make the difference. It's human value and human capital that can make the difference. And that's the part that we have to take care. And that's the part that we have to work and build. It's human capital. That's our learning. It doesn't matter that we have 100 people in the co-op and these people doesn't have a human value and capital education. It's not going to work. So thank you. One of my drivers calling me a few times. Sorry. Let me get it.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I maybe, especially because Josefina needed to take that call, maybe we'll move to Ulum Pixan now, and then we can have questions afterwards, if that sounds good.
Most of the time, sorry, when the driver I in the road and they call, I right away try to grab the phone call, because you don't know if they have a problem, is it the truck breaking down, if they have an accident or something happened. So it's something that you have to try to take care of right away.
Yeah, that's real life and real work, right?
Yes.
So I was just suggesting that maybe we move through the to Ulum Pixan's presentation, and then we'll have question and discussion after, if that works.
You can hear me, Natasha.
Okay. And do you want, Ulum, did you want me to bring up the slides you sent me?
Yeah, that would be great. And I just want to apologize in advance. I'm like in a garden in the woods, so my internet is very choppy.
Okay.
So it's hard act to follow, but so a lot of the challenges that were very similar, and we are a quasi organization. We're a nonprofit with a co-op farm underneath. So we are an educational center, but the farm is run as a co-op, and part of the farm is compost facility, which is very small. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions around the co-op model, you know, one of the other bigger questions is questions of who owns the land and how, and that is like one of the other things that for us in our organization are important. You know, that we come from a history of dispossession for communities across the continent. and across the US, and one of the entry points for colonization. So first, I wanted to acknowledge and give thank you for my ancestors and the ancestors of the people who stewarded this land before us, and actually give thanks to people that have welcomed me to their territory, and make sure that we know the history of the places where we live and work or conduct business in, because it's important for the benefit of everyone, not just we can pass. I'm gonna go a little faster.
Did you want me to just go through these slides? Sorry.
Yeah, go to a couple slides, and yeah, I would ask you to stop if I
Okay.
need to. Still seeing the same screen. Okay, and go a little bit more. Maybe you can go to the next one, would be great. It's just, that's the video I can share after of MLK, Martin Luther King talking about, how reparations should be, or how he was seeing reparations and still waiting for the payback of the promises of the country. So we here at Gulf Village Work, I'm very proud of do some work with other organizations or sisters organizations, and one of the organizations we work very closely is the Casa Poquenoque Land Trust. They actually our fiscal sponsor, and it's a indigenous land trust that is working on repatriating lands back to indigenous folks, not just of Casa Poquenoque heritage, but other heritages. And you can see the timeline since we have been working with them. We started working in 2008 with them, and in 2020 we were able to get a state nonprofit status as a global village, and also incorporated as a co-op with Tokaway Farm. And PPLT was able to receive their first USDA grant as science of reparations, and in that plan is a compost site within that. So one of the things that the co-op does, we have a cultural center farm share CSA, and we deliver vegetables to Worcester County and sometimes to Providence and some Providence markets. And this year we have 30 CSAs that are supported by NOFA and the PPP grant. You asked me what PPP is, I have no idea. Partners something. Oh no, it's FMPP. It's like farmers markets grant through USDA. You can go ahead. We do a lot of ancestral farming, and one of them is we do carbon sequestration, and we increasing the topsoil depth, and this is like something we have been learning by trade, the things that we usually do with other organizations. So in our traditional practices, we composting, and we do like what is called now biochar. But because our bioregion is different, the cycles are different and the methods are a little different, but the concept is very similar. More from that. No, we also do a lot of farmer inclusion. We do a lot of training with organizations, dismantling racism work. And we also do a lot of cultural events, including resiliency through tradition. So how we see compost as a main part of the work we're doing. So a lot of people have the wrong idea of compost. They think it's just a fertilizer. You know, it's like they apply it just as a fertilizer, and that's okay. You can do that, but that's not all compost is. So what we will call finished compost, because compost is called from when it gets, the waste get dumped in a pile somewhere, or food rest, to the finished piece. So finished compost is pretty good for inoculation. And this is how our compost facility looks like right now. So you see like the compost is right there in front of the farm. And we use right now 90% of the compost we produce. And the other 10% gets bagged and sent to community gardens that we have helped create during the pandemic, because people couldn't travel to the farm, or you know, we thought part of the resiliency piece was to teach people how to farm themselves. And we in 2020 and 2021, some of the funding we got from USDA was for building garden beds. And so we still give those farmers seedlings and compost every year. You can see the second slide.
Sorry, next slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the full farm map. So if you see to the right, that's like the whole land part, and is 17 acres in the other side of the train tracks. Those 17 acres was an act of reparation from Global Village to the Casa Pokenoke as a gift, because this actually has a lot of traditional sites and a lot of bureau sites of the Nipmuc indigenous group. So we are part of what it used to be called the Hassanamisit Woods. So it was a big space of a reunion for indigenous groups to talk about, I guess, their future before colonization. So it's a very important site. So if you see, this is a group of volunteers that came to the farm, but if you see, the farm is next to them, and in the back you can see the piles of compost. The one to the right is like fresh materials for mixing with farm lefts or food scraps, and in the one to the left, right, kind of in the middle, that's finished compost. So you can see the difference even in the color. So usually, you know, what we will receive, for example, like somebody would bring us food scraps, we would have to, like, food scraps would be like probably like 10 to 20% of the materials that need to be mixed to make compost. So compost is like a recipe. You create a recipe and have to, like, is a lot of chemistry and biology that you need to apply to get a good recipe. And I know I'm preaching to the crowd, but one part, like compost need a lot of materials. We feel like as a a movement, we need a lot of ingredients. And one of the ingredients is the support for activists. And a lot of people don't understand that activists actually have to eat and have a life. And a lot of the activists I have found in my line of work are either environmentalists or social justice folks or economic justice folks. Like, you know, we were hearing before from Josefina, like a lot of these movements came out of those activist groups. And a lot of the members in the organization and in my co-op are activists. So we support with 10% of our labor is paid by the co-op to do activist activities. So part of the racial justice component of our organization, we do what is called cultural survival. So we do consulting and training to organizations. We contribute to reparations. Like I say, we were part of a group called Indigenous Peoples Network, that it was a program from the Pocasset-Poquenoke Land Trust and NEFA, the North New England Farmers of Color. And we have done a lot of contributions to policy platforms for NOFA and for NISA. The NOFA is Northeast Organic Farming Association, and NISA is New England Sustainable Agriculture Working Group. And we had done a lot of work in this last Farm Bill, you know, and we are able to use the money that came from the Farm Bill to win for this CSAs for farmers and a lot of EBT users. You know, and we see that this model have actually really worked for us. You know, we have a lot of training to our members. We have apprenticeships in other farms. We have a lot of visiting farmers and from each other, and you know, we were part of many farming conferences and workshops like this one. The money and equipment, we try to, you know, go far with very little money, and that's one of the good things about working and organizing as a co-op. And here you see, you know, some of the youth having fun through a cultural appreciation day, and all of them were able to have a space to tell their stories and the stories of their families, and really find a place to belong as their whole selves. And yeah, a lot of this presentation at the beginning was from Soul Fire Farm, which is where I train to do farming here in the US, because the way we do farming back in Central America, where I'm from, is very different. The climate is very different. You know, same vegetables, but a lot more tight, time consuming because the way the temperatures happen to be here. In this one, I'm just gonna leave you with this piece of who grows the food, and you know, we think that land is the only real wealth in this country, and if you don't own it, we are out of the picture, and that's a lot of the reality for a lot of folks of color at this point. And we think that actually, you know, the land should be for the people that work the land and buy. And I'm just gonna leave you with a couple of thoughts. I don't know if any of you know this way of thinking called Buen Vivir. And if you don't, Rubén is going to tell you all about it. No. We will pass it to Rubén to explain a little bit of what NOFA does and what is next for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Rubén.
Thank you, Ulum and Josefina. Thank you, VORS, actually, for the invitation here. I'll be real quick here. I just wanted to touch upon what NOFA does and a little bit of what NOFA does directly with farms like Global Village. So first and foremost, Rubén Parrilla, he, him pronouns, calling in from the unceded land of the Nipmuc. And I am with NOFA Mass. I will go ahead and drop that into the chat here so that people can actually see a little and learn a little more about NOFA Mass. But in general, NOFA Mass is a member-driven 501c3 where we focus heavily on education. There's a huge advocacy component too, along with other programs such as food access. There's a pollinator network and amongst other departments within the organization, but mostly heavily on the education. And this is where I come in, where we provide technical assistance to folks like Global Village. In particular, there's, in this case, since we're talking about composting, right? There's a component of education around composting, but also bringing in certain grants that we actually also have. And this is the beauty of actually partnering with other farms as well, where we can bring some of these ideas that we may have as an organization and bring it into fruition through these grants, providing these grant opportunities to the farmer and also for the community at large. One grant in particular that I'm really excited about, that it's an ongoing project that we have with the Sustainable Agriculture Resource and Education, is this really, really cool project on composting, where we decided that, in terms of closing the loop of mushroom farming, we thought, okay, and also actually, let me backtrack a little bit here. So one of the things that we do at NOFA is microscopy. We use microscopy to look at compost teas, extracts, but also soils as well. And so in years of looking at compost under the microscope, unfortunately, a lot of commercial compost was always lacking certain organisms, particularly fungi, and fungi only because of the type of composting occurs, thermophilic composting, a lot of the regulations also, specifically, or unfortunately, the organic regulations tell you that you have to turn your compost a certain amount of times. This unfortunately selects for bacteria and not fungi, because you're essentially disturbing any mycelial network that may be occurring through that thermophilic process. And so we said, okay, well, how can we actually increase fungal activity in compost? And we looked into, well, let's look at fungi in particular. And so we partnered with a mushroom grower that, fortunately, she only uses, she only goes through one flush of the mushroom. And after that, the substrate is discarded, leaving a ton of energy and food, if you will, for fungi to continue to proliferate. And so we decided to actually take the substrate, mix it in with finished compost, because that's what we were looking at before. We don't want to denature it by putting it through a thermophilic process again. That facility, the mushroom facility, is 100%, it's certified organic. And we took substrates at different ratios and combined it with compost, finished compost. We did this last fall, and actually I can put a link to the project here. It's still ongoing, so you're going to have to excuse me on the data because there's no data yet present, but I could talk preliminary about some of the data that we actually found. And initially, when we thought of bringing in fungi to the party, when mixing the finished substrate to compost, we said, okay, well, sure, fungi is going to grow, right? That did happen, but one thing that we noticed was there's a ton of other organisms that also came to the party that was not intended as part of this project. We only thought, okay, well, fungi is going to grow. But instead, we actually found particularly a lot of an increase on a lot of the predators, actually, that again are sometimes missing in a lot of compost systems and also in soil. Eventually, if you don't have good quality compost to begin with, it's not going to end up in your soil magically. And so preliminarily, this is what we have found, that there's been a ton of microorganisms that were inoculated post mixing with the substrate. So this is just one of the projects that we have going on, that we have about 5 farmers in the region participating in this project. We hope to also bring this and more education to farmers, such as the one at Global Village. And with that, I think that's actually pretty much the spiel on NOFA Mass. If anybody, and I'll actually pass it along to Natasha here.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing some of that information. And now we can open it up to questions or comments, some dialogue. And while people are starting to think about that, I'll just say one of the things that I love, and the sort of the string that I heard sort of woven through there was about relationship and community, and really having that be at the center and the focus of a cooperative model, and just that iterative nature and the work that relationship takes. To be in relationship is very different than having just simple, sort of contractual, I'm going to pay you and you're going to go take this away, and we don't know what's happening, and there's not that education and dialogue piece going on. And so that's one of the things that I that draws me, I guess, to these models. Brenda just put in the chat, Zach Hedstrom of Boulder Mushroom is doing experiments with inoculating compost with fungi to speed the curing process, and she shared a link to that work. There's a lot of very interesting work, I think, happening around there. And also, just for folks who weren't able to join us for one of our Tuesday sessions, we actually looked at some videos of compost and soil under microscope, and could see the different players, and talked a bit about the importance of diversity and having it be the different roles that different soil biology plays in the process. Brenda, I see you shared your camera. Would you like to unmute?
I don't have a comment as much as just, I don't have a question as much as a comment. I just wanted to elevate Josefina and Ulum and Rubén's just points about, food sovereignty, owning the land, access to capital, support. Josefina, you calling out kind of the capitalist framework in which we're trying to operate, and how challenges for cooperatives. And I think this is a nice, it's just, this ending session where I also in the keynote just kind of highlighted, facing this consolidation of the industry and the corporate control. And I just want to kind of call out and amplify the points you all are making on this, that it's really important for us to know this and pay attention to it and combat it and dismantle this kind of monopoly control over the system, and to really begin to localize it as you all doing. So much appreciation for your work on the ground on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And to make room for, to really highlight and bring up these examples of people on the ground doing good work at the local level, and with using different models.
Well, I really enjoyed to have the opportunity to come together with this group, because we are working for the same goal. And doesn't matter where each of us is living or doing the job. It's grateful when we have the opportunity to get it together and learning about what the job each of us is doing in different parts, because in the middle of so painful situation, the most we need is the people, the people who've been in struggle the whole life, we keep ourselves strong and together and have a hope in what we're doing. So it's a very excited to be here with you, and thank you very much for the invitation, so that we can learning for everybody and you can learning for us, and keep going and keep doing so. In the end of the day, we going to be more happy because we do what we're supposed to do, and we do for the gesture, and we do for the human wealth. So that's the bottom line, is the aim, or it should be the goal of all human activity. And unfortunately, the capital system does not. But we are here to show something else. Something else that can be done in different way. So that's all.
Thank you so much. The theme, one of the themes I think as well, just to build on what Brenda said, that has sort of been also woven throughout this, is the importance of education and outreach, and just helping people. How can we help amplify our each other's voices, and help people understand what the issues are, whether it's the capitalist model, land access, contamination. We just had a session this morning on jumping worms and needing people to, whatever it is, it's about creating space for dialogue and for helping people understand the issues at hand. In hopefully a really transparent way. And so that's certainly something, one of the goals that we have in organizing this summit each year.
And another thing that we had to thinking about it is that we all who are working in this field, food waste and composting, farm, we had to have that we have a new ingredient in the place. Yes, the environment crisis. We can't ignore this, and this is affecting everybody. And I don't know how we're going to deal with this, but it's a very, very serious thing that we're going to have to acting to adapt ourselves and adapt all our activity and everything to this new the new way, because it's total new way, and that's going to affect in one way or another way. So we have to thinking about that too. It's a reality, and it's over there.
Agreed.
Natasha, actually, I have to say I appreciate the choice word that you just made here in terms of education, right? And you used the word dialogue. And I like that a lot, because a lot of times we sometimes get too into the weeds or too focused on a particular thing that we may have a bias towards, and we want the world to know, okay, well, this is the way it should be, right? And so engaging in dialogue, I think it's the way to actually properly foment that education and community, and not just, this dogma of, this is the way it's done and it should be this way. The more we know, the more we learn, the more we know that we actually don't know anything. And so participating in dialogue, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I've just to build on that, I've also really found that some of the more challenging conversations I have is when we're facing some, a variety of new issues, and people are trying to come up with solutions with the tools that we've been using that created the problems, right? And so for me, I find, like, in dialogue, in hearing different perspectives, different worldviews, different cultural input into how can we think about these challenges in different ways so we can come up with new tools, new solutions, instead of just sort of perpetuating. We had a session where we were talking about PFAS, and one of the concerns, this was yesterday, one of the concerns was, well, so, we're trying to get PFAS out of a lot of streams, but what about the next generation, right? We're not actually addressing the issue, which is really cultural and societal demand for the performance that these chemicals bring. We're not addressing that. We're saying like, oops, we got caught. Let's just make a new chemical to do the same thing that we don't know that much about, right? And so how do we interrupt that? And and it's an unending piece of work that we hopefully can all engage in. But I do find that we just need we need new culture, new people, the younger generation coming up with like new ideas to just just a whole different perspective, and that comes from dialogue.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
From inviting different people in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Well, I just wanted to share, I was going to put it in the chat now. I hope that link works, but just again, to amplify or lift up Josefina, a point you made about the gender, that the waste industry is so dominated by men and white men probably, but we just released the census of community composters about a month ago, and there's a graphic. This is the link to the figures. But yeah, we found that in the waste industry, this was not our data, but 83% was male. But in the census we did of community composters, it was only 1/3. A lot more diversity. So I just thought I'd just share that.
Good. Thank you.
And Ulum Pixan is saying that she's unable to speak right now, but happy to be here, and we're certainly happy to have your information shared here with us as well. Yeah, great. Well, thank you all so much. Really, I've been waiting all week, looking forward to this session. I mean, all the sessions were great, but this was such a nice way to sort of bring a number of the issues sort of full circle, and sort of echo some of the key themes that we were trying to bring out in this focus on, community-oriented activities that we're all engaged in.
Natasha, you deserve a huge round of applause for all your work this week. Amazing event. So
thank you so much. Yeah, it's my pleasure for sure. All right. Well, thanks once again to our presenters, to all of our participants, Josefina and Ulum and Rubén. You're in a neighboring state. I certainly would welcome future collaboration and interactions with you all. And if we can, help work off each other and continue amplifying our voices, that would be lovely.
Keeping the relation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Happy weekend.
Same to you. Bye-bye.